Hey guys, it's Joe, and I am here with Louise, and we are speaking to both Judy and Collin Prochnow. We're going to be going over what happened back in 2015 with them and what's happened since. Hi guys, how are you?
Hiya.
Hi.
Hey, there's some things I want to go into, and if there's anything that you feel uncomfortable with, by all means, just say I don't want to answer this, or say you're uncomfortable, and I'll just stop. So the first thing I wanted to ask you, because there's all kinds of uncertainties, the Florida trip and when you guys left and when you came back, do you guys remember anything? I mean, it doesn't have to be exact dates, but even close to what when you left and when you came back.
We left on the 10th and we came back on the 14th.
Okay.
We brought
Of January.
we brought Joni back to Florida. She had been with us all December for
Christmas and New Year's.
Okay, so she was at the house so she was there with you guys for the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
That's cleared out of the way. So the next thing I want to ask you, I'm going to have you guys tell us in your own words, whatever you're comfortable with. Run us through what happened, how you wound up going over, to the Crowley house, and why and what happened, and give it to me, give it to us right up until, the police arrived.
Well, it was Saturday morning, and I decided to go outside and just get something done. And I walked fairly far down on our driveway, and I looked over to the Crawley's house, and I noticed that the presents that were there in front of their house were still there, but they were getting blown into the snowbanks. So I decided to go over to the house, pick up the presents, and put them on their stoop. Well, when I did that, I heard the dog barking, and I hadn't heard the dog barking at all for those last, the 3 days that we were, that had been home, or even the week before we left. I never heard the dog bark at all. So I figured, well, somebody must be home. So I rang the doorbell to see if they would come to the door, and nobody showed up. And then I just thought to myself, well, peek in the window, maybe they, just don't know it's me, and so I did. I looked in the window,
right,
and then dog jumped up at the window, barking and growling, like he was very mean. At that time, I looked around the house a little bit, as much as I could see, because the glare from the sun was on the windows, and it was kind of hard to see into the house. And I noticed something to the right-hand side of the bay window on the floor, and then we noticed something more other than couches and chairs a little ways away from there. And that's when I decided to go home and tell Judy that something's wrong.
Right.
And then after I told Judy that, I went back outside because Lorraine Tupi was outside, and I went over to her, talked to her a little bit about it, and I said, do you know where the Crowleys are? And she said, no, but I've got David's phone number, cell number. So I said, well, why don't you call it just to see if he answers? Well, and that's what happened here.
Well, when he looked through the window, he thought he had seen mannequins, and he came home and he told me that there was mannequins, and the dog was there, and it looked like the dog had ripped up a bunch of things that it was laying all over the floor, and that we saw a gun on the floor.
Gotcha.
So I said, that sounds kind of silly. He thought they were like props for in case somebody looked that they had been on the couch or something.
What I want to ask real quick, so Collin, you actually saw the gun first?
Yes.
Okay.
I never saw the gun.
Okay, so you never saw the gun. Okay, Judy.
No.
All right. And so when you talked to the dispatcher and said that, there were bodies in the house and there was a gun on the floor, you were basing the gun on the floor off of what Collin had said to you?
I think I actually said my husband saw a gun on the floor.
Okay. That clears that up. Now,
when he came back and told me about what he had seen and that there was a gun on the floor, then I went over with him and we both looked in. And when I looked in, I couldn't really make out too much. But then I noticed David, and he was laying more with his, head towards the door, and I couldn't figure out what, I thought it was kind of a mannequin too, because it just didn't look human.
Yeah.
And then I took a closer look, and I saw that his vertebrae were, you could see them, and that there was a bone attached to them, but there wasn't really anything left of his face or head.
Yeah.
Well, then I kind of looked around, and I saw what I thought was a big butt, which turns out it was. I never saw Renaya, but I did see a hand that I thought was hers. It must have been David's, from what everybody tells me. And it was mummified. And when I saw that hand, I knew exactly that they were dead.
Yeah.
I interrupt you for a second?
I told Collin that I was going home because I was sick.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
your mind had realised what you were actually seeing.
Correct.
And who you were seeing.
Right. And
yes. And
Judy, you didn't. I mean, when you say that the hand was mummified, you're saying it was mummified because of what you've been told. I mean, you didn't like.
No, I could tell it was mummified.
Okay, so you were able to tell.
Like old brown leather.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Like dehydrated.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I don't want anything getting switched on anybody. So then, when you guys got over there and you realized what was going on, what happened?
Judy went home, and then Lorraine was standing outside, and I went over to talk to Lorraine. And then that's when Lorraine said, "Why don't you call the police?" So that's when I called the police. In the meantime, Judy had come home, and she had dialed in just before me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we were both reporting the 911 calls on separate phones.
Didn't the transcript pick up that they could hear you also communicating with Lorraine at the same time?
I was on my front step, and Lorraine was talking to Collin, and then Lorraine started towards the Crowley house, and I knew she was going to look in the window, and I told her, don't look in there, don't look in there.
Like any kind neighbour would do, because you wouldn't want anybody to see what you've just seen, knowing how bad it was.
Exactly.
It's not because you were trying to direct anything, other than protect her from seeing something that she can't unsee.
Right. Lorraine can't be directed anyway.
Well, that's a good thing in a way.
I think Collin also told her to stay, that she didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
I gotcha. So now the call comes in to 911, and I know that there was something in the police reports, but I guess the police told one of you that the other one was still on the phone, and that they were taking information from that person too. Is that what happened?
Right. Yeah, the policeman told me that I was the one that came in second, and they were getting the report at the same time from, I actually think they said from my wife. And I said, okay. And then they told me, they said, well, why don't you hang up, because they'll take the report from one person that way.
Okay, so it wasn't confusing.
And that the police would be on the way shortly.
Okay. Now, you guys waited for the police to show up.
Yes.
Okay.
I hung up, I threw up, came back out, and went over to where Collin and Lorraine were, and by the time I got there, a policeman had driven up.
So that was the first officer arriving on scene. Okay.
Right.
And were you stood like on your driveway?
What?
She was asking where you were standing.
We were standing on Lorraine's driveway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Close to the race, right? We were on the grass between the two houses.
When the officer showed up, do you remember what happened once he actually showed up?
He came over and asked us what we thought was happening, and we told him. And then he went over to the window to look inside the window. After that, he got on his walkie-talkie or radio, and asked for more people to come.
Okay.
And then at that point, I'm pretty sure he walked around to the back of the house
Mm-hmm.
to see if just check things out in the back, and then look. He could, at the back of the house is where their sliding glass door is that goes out onto their deck. And he went there, and then the dog rushed the door, and then he came back to the front of the house, and then he was on his radio again, telling the other police officers that were coming that they're a mad dog, correct?
An angry dog. Yeah, they did exactly. From listening,
they needed something for control.
Yeah, from listening to the audio from the police, they actually did say the dog was angry, a very angry dog.
And they needed a catch pole, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When he came back, actually there were cop cars coming, all the time. There were a lot of cop cars that they were blocking off the street and things.
But they have their sirens going, or were they?
No, they didn't.
I'm just curious.
Yeah. They actually. What?
On the audio, you can hear a siren, so I think the first officer on the scene had his siren on, but I don't remember it being on when he came down our street. Do you?
No.
He might
There's so much going on at that time anyway that it's the last thing that you're going to be thinking about is whether there was a siren going or not.
Right, exactly.
You just being shot.
So now after the officers started coming, I know there was a walkthrough done at one point, but this is probably before the walkthrough. Do you remember them doing anything at the house? Anything they did other than checking the back? I mean, did they put up crime scene tape? Did they,
Yeah, the second car that pulled up, the first officer told him what he had seen, and then she started putting up crime tape right away.
Okay.
Collin and I went home, and Lorraine went into her house.
Okay. And then
did they photograph the bottom of everyone's shoes? Because there are some photos of shoes.
Yeah, I know the police were. Yeah.
I think they photographed Lorraine's because she had walked through the snow.
Okay. Yeah.
Did they photograph yours?
I don't remember.
So did you guys remember? Did you walk up this? And I'm only asking because this would make sense as to why you didn't have your shoes photographed if you didn't. When you guys went up to move the gifts, you walked down the sidewalk or the driveway, so you never walked in the snow, right?
No, because we didn't have a whole lot of snow that year.
Gotcha.
We had a little bit, and then when I put the gifts away, I stepped over a portion of a small snowbank that was in the front yard, so I could look into the picture window.
I gotcha.
I remember that the sidewalks weren't shoveled.
Right, that's why I was asking. I know the sidewalk in the in the driveway were apparently shoveled. That's why I had said that, which kind of makes sense. Okay, so that's pretty much what happened. Other than I'm sure the police department wound up, talking to you guys, asking you if you saw anything and all that. My understanding, from the reports at least, and from talking to you guys, I guess everybody thought that the Crowleys had actually, I don't know if you want to call it, left on vacation or went to go visit relatives, right?
Right. Yeah, because, we hadn't seen anybody from Christmas and then all the way until the 10th of January. So we just took for granted that they had left after Christmas.
We didn't see them after Christmas.
Right, exactly.
I know, we saw them before Christmas.
Yes.
That's what I said.
Oh.
Right. So, now, I want to ask you because...
We thought they were gone because we hadn't seen anybody from basically Christmas until the 10th of January. We hadn't seen anybody. And then that's when Judy and I and my sister Joan went to Florida.
Right.
And then when we came back, and then we didn't see anybody around for those 3 days before we discovered what had happened.
Right. Bad enough what you guys witnessed. I know that had to be really bad. I mean, I actually feel sorry as I'm talking to you guys. I really feel sorry for you because I used to work public safety, so I know kind of what some of this stuff looks like, and I can't even imagine what it actually did from the stuff I read in the reports. It's now 4 years since that day, which was January 17th of 2015. What's it been like for you guys after this? I mean, have you been have you been able to get back to any kind of normalcy? That's what I guess I'm asking.
Yeah, as far as our life, we've been living a normal life.
Okay.
But
And it took a while, but they finally sold the house. A person bought the house and remodeled it, and then he put it up for sale, and it probably was up for sale for 6 to 8 months before he finally sold it. So, it was 2.5 years after the murder-suicide that we finally had some neighbors again on that side of the house.
Do you feel differently about the house now? Because I know at one point you felt that it should be kind of torn down. It was a constant reminder. Do you still feel like that, or
no?
No, the person that bought the house originally bought it as an investment, and he went in and basically gutted the whole house and remodeled it, and did a very, very nice job. He did yard work, so he put more bushes and flowers into the front yard, so it spruced it up. The house didn't kill anybody. They just happened to be the site that everything happened at.
It's just when it was sitting there empty for so long, you couldn't help but remember why it was sitting there empty. It just looked sad to me.
Yeah. I'm happy for those of you that you feel different about it now, because it must have been horrible at that point in your life to have this hanging over, literally, where you live, and you can't escape it.
Right.
And, the impact of what happened and how it's impacted on you, and then that constant reminder. So it's nice to know that as time's gone by and people have moved in and changed it and brought new memories to it, that it's possible to move forward from that and not constantly be reminded,
right,
so often at least,
And
by what happened there.
Right, that's what I think I want to ask you guys as well. I mean, physically, from seeing the house, I mean, it's kind of not a reminder anymore because the house has changed. But is there anything that has gone on over the last 4 years that, makes you guys have to think about this, again and again?
You mean regarding the house?
Well, in connection with the house, I should ask. I know that there was a lot of publicity, and then there was a documentary done, and but so I know that was there. But after all that, I mean, do you guys, just come in? I mean, I know you come and go normally, but I'm asking, do you have any reminders? Like, I don't know, people coming around,
Are you
groups, any.
I think you're talking about the Injustice group.
That too.
And
Yeah.
Well, one night I was on Facebook and I was couldn't remember if I had. Anyway, I was looking for Collin's nephew David, and I put him in the Facebook search, and David Crowley popped up. The group. Justice for David Crowley and Family. And I was curious, so I started reading it, and they were discussing Collin shoveling the driveway, and they were more or less, they had a video that they had on their page, and more or less calling him a liar, and that made me mad, so I asked to join, and I told him, what had happened.
How long
And
ago after that, after everything happened, did that pop up? Do you know?
the first time I saw them was like a month afterwards.
Okay.
And then I spent hours on there because people were tossing questions at me, and I was trying to respond to them in the order I got them, but I wasn't moving fast enough for some people, so all of a sudden they started, being insulting. And I have proof of this because I have posts from people like Siobhan scolding them, telling them that they shouldn't be treating me this way.
Gotcha.
No, I realized then, well, then I saw the other page, and Dan was on a roll, and he was, making all these accusations against the family and friends. And I was correcting him, and, he would ignore it. So then I would ask him where his evidence was. Dan took this GoFundMe money, and all the rest of the garbage that he was spreading. And I was on there for about 8 months, just harassing him at that point because I was so mad. And then I went away, and every once in a while I would get someone sent me a link to what they were saying. And
so you actually walked away from the page, and then they started. Right, they were baiting you to come back. So they would send you a link and say, "Hey, you need to check this out."
No, it would be a friend.
Okay.
Or something.
Okay, so it wasn't a group member, it was somebody else who saw it. Okay, I got that.
Because you'd get blocked, wouldn't you, Judy? You'd comment on things, and then you'd get blocked, and they'd block every avenue for you to communicate.
They would lie about me.
Did Collin happen to see any of this stuff too, or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would show him a lot of the stuff that they were saying.
Okay, good. I mean, this way, yeah, he was seeing it as well.
And he was watching the videos too.
Judy, do you get or have you had any nuisance calls, nasty messages? Have you been on the receiving end of anything like that?
The first week we were inundated with reporters and calls, and even a couple people knocking on our door.
Just private people?
Once I joined that group, I would get a couple calls now and then, and then I would get hang-ups. They'd say, "Hi, Judy," and then hang up, things like that. Faded, they kind of stopped. And then when I responded to one of Greg's videos, I think it was, I got a call, Collin doesn't even know about this, that threatened Eric's kids. And so, right now I don't answer the phone unless I know the phone number. I don't.
That call was over this last year, right?
Yeah, early last year, end of last year, I think.
I hope that you logged it and logged it with.
No.
In the future, hopefully you won't ever get anything like that. But if ever you get anything like that, log it with the police.
Paper trail.
Yeah.
You learn that at work.
I
but
know.
That's crossing a line. That is crossing a serious line.
Exactly.
And the thing is, there are some strange people on that board. There are some strange people,
Putting it mildly.
Exactly.
Putting it mildly. Oh.
But I mean, this is the thing. It was bad enough what happened back then, and now you have to deal with this on top of it, and it's you guys. And it's the family, the friends, it's everybody. I mean,
everybody even remotely associated with this.
Well, I mean, this is something too. I don't know if you guys, you're probably aware of it or not, but you're probably aware of it. I mean, we have the so-called civilian investigators, as they've been coined off the documentary, out there saying all kinds of things that they've discovered and all this. I mean, the most recent one, well, I'm not even going to the most recent one, but I mean, we know what the police report says happened, and you guys know what happened afterwards, obviously. But I mean, this was a very sad and tragic thing that happened, and I mean, we got people out there saying everything, and I realized it was because of the movie, but we have people out there saying everything from the government killed the family to bloodletting and trauma, and I mean,
slaughtering them in our garage.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, and yeah, it's just.
David's brother did it, or David's dad did it. They bring in, they bring in everybody.
I know. And supposedly there's all these experts, but there's none.
Right.
I mean, it's just it's sad.
You have nothing else to do than sit and listen to crap.
Mm-hmm.
To me, all they are is a bunch of busybodies that all they want to do is talk bad about people.
Tell them how you feel about the video, Myron. Tell them about how you felt when you saw that.
I was mad. There's no reason they should be bringing other people up and talking with each other and putting it on the airwaves and just being despicable.
Well, and this is the other thing
too. Claiming things about people with no evidence to base it from.
Then they sit there thinking that they can do this, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. You think, well, we're news media people, and we're on the air, and I have the right for free speech.
Yeah, well,
I mean, the irony is that they call Judy the nosy neighbour, but like your neighbours, but
exactly, you're right there.
Everybody else, who even you could class myself as it. You could say that I'm being nosy because I didn't actually know the Crowleys, and so technically, I don't have any God-given right to have any information or anything like that. So we could all be more nosier than how you are supposed to be the nosy neighbour.
One person, I think her name is Sophia, but she goes by Bug something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's absolutely not true. I only met Holly once. And we don't take our dog in the front yard because they run away.
Right. I actually know for a fact that the incident didn't happen because we spoke to somebody who actually asked Holly, and Holly said it didn't happen.
Right.
So, I mean, so it's just people, I mean, it's like they want to spread misery, and it's just, I mean,
And Judy, you didn't send Judy.
He says something, and then all of a sudden somebody adds something to it, or
you didn't send any letter either, did you, about this neighbourhood complaints thing? Because I know you've been accused of that as well, something to do with
the ordinance,
a letter with the community guidelines or something.
The only thing I can think of is Holly and them, when they were first moved in, they had lots and lots of cars, and they were parking them on the street, and I don't even know if this is in effect anymore, but there used to be a law of parking restriction in Emerald Valley that said if you're,
After 3 a.m., you're not supposed to have your cars parked on the street.
Or
you're supposed to be in the driveway.
And that was to make, right.
You should call the police and tell them that you're having overnight guests.
Right, that was for security reasons, right? That was to make sure nobody was breaking in.
That the cars that were there belong there. But I don't even know if that's in effect anymore.
Yeah, the last time I did that was about a year ago. I called the police department and told them we were going to have a car parked in front of our house because we had company, and they said that we didn't need to do that anymore.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
If there were cars in your driveway and there was one on the street, they understood that there was no room to park another car in the
Right.
driveway.
Yeah.
another interesting thing that I picked up from their latest is that I belong to some kind of electronic surveillance group,
Oh, really?
and I probably am in it behind Colin's back, and I don't know what the hell they're talking about, because there's no such group. You know, years ago there used to be a Watch Your Neighborhood group,
Oh,
Yeah.
neighborhood watch group. Yeah.
Neighborhood Watch, and that had nothing to do with surveillance. It just said that you kept your eye out if something strange was going on at one of your
Yeah.
neighborhoods.
Yeah. This way, so nobody can break into somebody's house. I mean,
Right.
we have that
I
here.
just think, watch your neighbour. That's brilliant, Judy.
That's crazy.
He described it. I was running around with tape recorders and video cameras.
Well, no, that may be because they were, worried you were cutting in on the action for them. They're news media, so the cameras.
I get all this money. I get paid from everybody, but I haven't seen a cent of it yet.
Yeah, there's a number of people, myself included, that are supposedly government operatives. So, I mean,
It's the first thing that they use to try and discredit anyone's opinion, is to try and say that they're a shill, or they're a paid this, or they're an informant, or they're, based off nothing, just based off a difference of opinion.
Yeah, based on their opinion, and only their opinion counts.
Oh, and of
You know.
course, your friend. She who we won't mention.
She who shall not pass our lips.
Yes, expert in everything.
yeah.
I'm sure she knows who she is.
Expert in everything and not good at anything.
Here's, it's bad enough that this is going on a Facebook page, but there's associated YouTube channels, and God knows what else going on.
And they have thousands of subscribers, I don't know why, but they have thousands, and people are seeing this garbage, and most of them are believing it, and I hope that there's some people with common sense that are blowing them off.
This is part of the reason that we're actually doing the interview, is so people can get to know you guys and see what they're doing to you guys, as well as the family and their friends, is wrong. They're basing everything off of information that they're being given that's not true. So,
Well, it hurts because, like, one time I saw that they had my mother's obituary, and they were discussing that.
Yep.
And then, sometime last year, Dan had posted that it was time to look into my nephew's suicide. And I thought, what does my nephew have to do with anything? What does my mother have to do with anything that they have to become a topic of conversation in this so-called investigation?
well, here's something.
It starts to look like it's very personal then, doesn't it?
Yes, it's cruel, and it hurts when they post that. I don't give a rat's butt what they say about me, but to go in and see them talking about my mother and my nephew who died about a month after David and Kamel.
Well, and this is the thing.
And
I
then,
mean,
and then they wonder why I stick around, all
Well-
that crap. And then, of course, I'm black, so I'm not allowed to respond to it.
well, then
But
you.
they say these things because they want to get that reaction from you, and then they can block you, and they can portray you as somebody that you're not. Because I was in that group for 4 years. You know Judy. You know,
Uh-huh.
and we may have had a few crossed words, but not anything disrespectful. I never disrespected you or Collin or called you names. I only asked you a couple of questions. I kept out of all of that name calling and things, and I did defend you. And I when you weren't in there, I did say, that's too far. Judy's not here to defend herself. He didn't say it like that. But since we've been communicating and everything, we don't have any problems. I don't have a problem with you, and I don't feel like you have a problem with me. You're not this nasty person who I can't communicate with and have a conversation with and be polite with and have a laugh with, and you're a nice lady.
Exactly. They're both nice people, and they're being attacked.
Right.
You know.
I'm an evil blood drinking high priestess.
Only once a month, though.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
On a full moon.
Just when the moon is full.
Well, I think we ought to throw this out there as well. I mean now, because I guess it ran dry as far as this multiple blunt force trauma thing that was being put out there from the tools in the back room.
Claim,
But,
because
yeah.
we still haven't had any evidence.
We do have evidence that somebody who wasn't an expert contacted Apple Valley Police Department with a 12-page email. That was, I mean, to see this, it was, oh God, beyond mind-boggling. A 12-page email of this is my opinion, this is my opinion, this is my opinion. Well, what training do you have to come to the opinion when you have an officer, a police officer, a detective, and different agencies that are actually trained to do this? They go to school for this, and they're telling you this is what we found. And you got somebody from 12, 16, 2,000 miles away going, well, I found this, and there's literally the detective telling you, I don't know what you see, because I'm looking at what you sent me, and there's nothing. I think the actual words were, there is nothing you have sent this department over the last 4 years that is anything like you think.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean,
Finding the evidence that is, say, your coroner who is saying, and who is qualified to make that statement, they have to be the one to write that down and say their opinion, and then that, in essence, is the evidence, which is then submitted to the police. But
there's the
somebody
key.
just saying it, that's just a claim.
But
they're claiming to have the evidence, but they're not actually providing any evidence.
This is the thing.
It's unsubstantiated.
Right, this is the thing. It's not substantiated because, and the thing that gets tossed out there is, my expert doesn't want to do that because they're going to get torn apart. They may get torn apart if you put it on YouTube, but it doesn't belong on YouTube. It belongs going to the police department.
And it's okay to tear apart my family,
Exactly.
Exactly.
You know.
And all the other families involved and people involved.
Well.
I was going to tell you that I had sent some emails or messages to a couple medical examiners,
Mm-hmm.
and I only got 2 responses back,
Mm-hmm.
and both of them, I had sent the picture and asked them if they thought there was blunt force trauma, and both of them said that you can't tell blunt force trauma from a picture. You have to have the skull
Right
in
in
your
front of you.
hand.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you want.
Well, now remember this, and Collin, I know you can hear me. So, now they have a private investigator that's gonna solve everything. Although we did see that if the private investigator is of the opinion that David actually did this, they don't care about his opinion, which made no sense.
They'll go get some other investigator to take the money.
Well,
You'll have to let us know if you get a visit from Inspector Gadget.
well, and here's the thing, Colin. You know, we were talking earlier. This investigator, they're actually going out and asking for donations for.
That's what I understand, yeah, which is really crazy. I just can't believe there's that many stupid people in this world that would take money out of their pocket to give to somebody for an investigator to try to solve a 4-year crime that was solved the day after it the day after it was found, basically.
But here's the thing, though. I mean, Colin brought up. I mean, some of these people we were reading that we can't afford to give you any money until the first of the month. Now,
Yeah.
so this is people that are like apparently on Social Security and God knows what, and they're donating
Right.
for an investigator. And like you said, it's a 4-year-old crime that's been solved already. What's there to solve?
Nothing. You know what?
Especially when the family don't even support it.
That's something Louise just brought up is right on the money. Catherine went out and said, we're doing this for the family, we're doing this for their friends, but those same family and friends that they're claiming to help, that they're actually accusing, no less, they're saying, leave us alone.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
And then they put on the act of being more concerned about David and Kamel and Renaya than the family. The family doesn't care. They should be investigating this. Leave the family alone.
Exactly. I think they should be leaving everybody alone, actually. I mean, even the cops are getting flack. They tracked the medical examiner down to her new job and went on video and said, I tried to contact Dr. Lelinski at this place in Wisconsin. I mean, and she wouldn't talk to me.
I don't
You
blame
think?
her.
Exactly. You think?
She mysteriously went over there, but if they would have done 2 more minutes of research, they would have found out she grew up there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the thing. If we can keep highlighting where they keep going wrong with saying these things and then just putting up the actual truths and completely disproving them, then if we do it so many times, it's gonna start
It already
making
has.
people see things and question things, and it already has.
You would just think that now after 4 years that they would find some other murder that they can start tracking down because the evidence would be fresh.
Louise, were we not talking about this today?
We were.
Okay, so the resident expert lives in Colorado, and the Chris Watts case from Colorado was going on, and she's local, but the police didn't come to her. I don't understand why. She's an expert.
And isn't there another one that's ongoing that's in Colorado as well?
Yes.
And again, I don't think she's been called up. She's not been called up yet for her special research skills.
Yeah, it's funny they don't get involved with that one. Try to go out and find about it.
Well,
you'd think that she'd be she'd be in demand.
Well, there is somebody that's apparently in demand, or they're trying to be in demand. They're going on. This is the kind of things they do, and we're aware of. Okay, there's one particular person. We're not going to name who they are, but they're because that's coming out later. They're literally going and finding families that their family members are missing or were killed, and they're claiming to be an investigator, a linguistic, and all kinds of things. And they're
body language expert.
Okay, and they're literally like. I mean, we watched this poor little girl. I can't remember where she was from. Her name was Kat, and they literally, nice gravestone. So the person comes back and says something, and then she says, I think the boyfriend killed her. And the people were like, what? And she's like, I'm an investigator. And the aunt or the mother, whatever it was, is like, what are you, a Facebook investigator?
Yeah, there's a lot of investigators in that group.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a couple reporters too. There's a couple reporters too for just $49.99. You could become a reporter too. So I know this last 4 years has been hell, and especially it intensified near the anniversary with the constant barrage of videos released and all kinds of stuff, attacking the family, attacking the police, attacking you guys. It was just crazy. There's no way to say it other than that. Everybody who's listening to this should now have gotten an idea, or hopefully has gotten an idea who you guys really are. And it's our hope that they'll look at this interview and see that you actually tried to inform them as to what was going on. You guys were being good neighbors, and that there's just a spin that's getting on this, and it's not from you guys. So, and it's just, I guess, to keep the narrative going. I don't know. But if there was anything that you can tell these people that are doing all this, what would it be?
Get a life and do something good with your life instead of sitting behind a camera and downgrading people.
Learn what the truth is.
I guess that could be research. Because if they actually did research, they'd find the same thing everybody else is.
Find some compassion.
That's one thing, exactly. Find some compassion, you know.
Some empathy. Put yourself in their shoes and think, if that was my family, would I be happy with?
Yep.
With them posting that baby's picture, you know.
That
Yeah.
really, yes.
Knows exactly what kind of people they are when they post that.
Yep, exactly.
No, it's going to hurt the families.
And that's one of, it's kind of ironic because, and I'm going to throw this out there just before we actually do end. When I left the other group and came over to Louise's group, there was a post that our resident expert had put out there, and I said, you know, it's, at that point it was like 2.5 years, 3 years, and I was like, you know, it would be really nice if people would stop bothering and harassing the victims and, like, just leave them alone and give them time to heal and time to, like, you know, have a sense of peace. And when I put that post up, it disappeared. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it disappeared. It really did. And it was funny because the expert contacted me and told me that Louise is the one that took it down. And when I said to Louise, did you take this down? And she's like, no. What are you talking about? Okay, and it goes to show what their narrative is. When you go to try to defend the family or anybody that they're harassing, you get attacked yourself.
And I went into the admin log and screenshotted the admin log because it tells you who has deleted what. And there was nothing, I never deleted anything.
So,
Who did delete it?
Pardon?
Did it tell you who did delete it?
I think so, but I think we'll talk about that off record.
yeah. So, all right, guys, we're gonna end this now. Judy and Collin, I want to really thank you guys. I know this has been, I know the beginning was tough, and I know this last 4 years was tough, and I hope to God that this stuff, like, you know, starts to straighten out, and that people that are doing this actually take the time out to realize what they're doing is wrong. You know, if you want justice for David, Kamel, and Rania and their families, then what you need to do is stop harassing them, stop harassing people, and if you want to know what happened, the documentation is there. Read it instead of taking what's being given to you because it's got a twist to it.
Right.
Right.
All right, thank you.
And I think also, can I just quickly say,
Yeah.
I think as well that you have to remember that every time that the Croweys are being spoken of how they passed, it's dredging up the negative memories of only a short period of time in their life. You know, David was 29, so there's 28 other years of David and his life and his family's memories, and the same with Kamel. You know, what happened at the end is just a small,
Right.
and it's a negative, but it's constant. It's tarnishing their memory by reminding people of the negative memories and not positive memories
Exactly.
that they created with their friends and family.
Yep.
Right.
Right. Well,
So
thanks.
thank you both.
Thank you both.
Thank you.